Hey guys, it's Melissa here. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about not being afraid to be who you are. You know, we get judged so often, especially if you look at social media. People are always posting nasty things on social media about other people or other groups of people. And it can be very overwhelming to read those kinds of things. In fact, one of the messages that keeps popping up during the Facebook Live readings is to take a break from social media. It keeps popping up for people, and I understand why this message might continue to pop up because I remember that when I was really looking at news stories and following Twitter and all of these things after the presidential election 2 years ago, I remember getting so mad and so upset at all the things that I was reading, and it really bothered me. And I remember people just being completely vicious to other people because they didn't share the same political view. And I remember thinking, how did we get to this point? Because if you were to have a conversation with someone in person, you were most likely never going to say the things that you feel comfortable saying on social media. It's like we have a certain anonymity behind our avatars that we put there on social media, even though there are pictures usually, but there's some kind of, almost like a mask we can hide behind. And so it gives a lot of people the guts to say things that they would never say to someone in person. Especially because most of the time what people are fighting about is really, in the long run, not worth losing a friendship over, not worth, being cruel to someone over. And I remember I had to take a break. I just had to stop. I even stopped watching the news for a while there because everything that came out just made me angrier and angrier. And I thought, this is not the kind of world I want to live in. I don't want to live in a hate-filled world. I don't want to live in a world where people are critical of each other, and I don't want to live in that kind of world. I want the world I live in, is nice and kind, and I realize that, unfortunately, those evil things do exist. And the world that I want to live in isn't necessarily the world we do live in. But, as you know, I'm a big proponent of the fact that we create our own realities. And by what we think and what we say and how we act, we're creating our realities. So if I want to live in a world that is nicer, I can do that. And the way that I can do that is to control how I behave. And it does work because other people react to the way that you react. So I don't get in those kinds of squabbles, and if it feels like it's getting too heavy, I take a break and walk away from social media. I do what I have to do to keep my sanity because it can be overwhelming. It can be too much. And I just read something on Twitter where someone was criticizing someone else because of their sexuality. And it bothered me because it doesn't matter what you believe. What it all boils down to, I think, and my true belief, is that everyone deserves to be treated with the same basic human rights. And everyone deserves to be loved and to have love and to give love. Like, we are all love and we are all one. Yet there's so many people who still do not enjoy the same rights and privileges as other people. And in this day and age, it's really hard to understand why so many people are still so close-minded. And this is one of the biggest problems that I've had with organized religion. And I'm not putting any organized religion down by any means. I went to church for a long time. And, the church that I grew up in was really different. They did not believe in drinking or cussing, or it was very strict. So, of course, if you were of a different sexual preference, that would definitely not fly. And I never agreed with that. I never thought that fit with what I believed. Even though that was something that I was raised in, I didn't agree with it and I didn't believe in it. It did not sit well with me in my core. It just didn't seem like the right thing. And, they say that when you hear the truth, it's like your soul recognizes it, and I truly believe that. And I believe it's the same when you hear something that is definitely not the truth. So when I was growing up and I was hearing all of these lectures about, you have to, it's a man and a woman, and you can't drink and you can't, I'm like, none of this felt like it sat well with me. It didn't seem correct. So that led to not going to church for a long time, and then finding another church that was a lot more progressive. And I thought, this is going to be a great match because I believe in a lot of the same things. But then yet there were still a lot of rules that, were assigned in this church that I also did not agree with. And there were just basic things that it didn't feel like it resonated. It didn't ring true for me. And again, this whole having to, this whole sexual preference thing, this came up again in this church. And the minister at the time was actually not against it. In fact, he performed a ceremony outside of the church. But when members of the church found out that he performed this ceremony, there was a huge uproar and a huge splitting of the church. And he ended up having to leave over it. And it just turned my stomach because, again, to me, whatever your preference is, that's none of my business, and it doesn't bother me. And you do what you do in your own life. It's totally up to you, and no one else should be able to come in and tell you what to do with your life. And you should still be able to have the same rights as everyone else. And being a teacher, we see more of this, I think, more and more in the classroom, and issues coming from this in the classroom. And it's a little uplifting and positive for me to know that future generations coming in don't look at it the same way. It's very much not an issue for most people at this point. There are still some kids who make it an issue, but for the most part, I think that kids nowadays kind of just roll with it, and it's what it is, and it's not a big deal, which I think is a great thing that, there's more respect there. And I think that, we all come into this world with different qualities about us that make us unique and make us different. And some of these are here to teach us lessons and to teach other people lessons. And I don't think that it's fair for you to feel like you cannot be yourself just because someone else is uncomfortable with it. And this can extend to way more than just your sexual preference. It could be how you choose to live your life, if you choose to go to church or not, or if you choose to believe what your religion tells you that you should believe or not. It's all about who are you as a person, and are you trying to hide that or are you not? Because I don't think anybody should have to hide who or what they are, what they stand for, simply because it's not the popular opinion. You should be able to be who you are and be free to be who you are and not feel bad about that. And that's where a lot of us have issues with self-esteem, because we have society who tells us how we should think, how we should be, how we should act. And it causes a little bit of self-loathing sometimes, because we feel like, well, I don't measure up to what society thinks I should be, and I don't act the way society thinks I should. And so maybe there's something wrong with me, or why can't I just be normal like everyone else? And first of all, I'm here to tell you that I don't know what normal is. I don't know anyone who fits the so-so normal standard. I mean, what is normal? What does that even look like? We all grow up in different environments, and we have different personalities and character traits, and I don't know what a normal person, quote unquote, is. So this whole view that we have to be normal, we have to conform, and we have to fit in is just stupid, because what does that even mean anyway? And most great people were not conformist. They were people who thought outside the box and who did whatever they wanted to do, not because it was the popular thing to do, but because it was the right thing to do. They knew and believed in what they were doing. Even when other people might have thought that they were a little bit crazy, they had these grand ideas and they accomplished their goals and did some pretty awesome things. But if they had tried to conform and fit in with society and fit in with what the social norm was and what people told them they should do or how people thought they should act, we would never have a lot of the really cool inventions that we have now. It would never happen, because they would have been stifled by the people around them telling them, quit acting crazy, quit acting, not normal, you are not normal, stop doing that. They didn't listen. And in the same way, you need to not worry about what others think of you either. I did a podcast yesterday about not comparing yourself to others, but it's also important not to conform and not to try to fit into a mold of who you think people want you to be, because you're never going to be happy like that. You're going to be resentful and angry, and you're never going to share your gifts with the world. Your gifts are uniquely you, and if you're conforming and doing what everyone else is telling you to do, then we're not going to be, privileged to enjoy those gifts or to really enjoy who you are as a person, because we're not going to know the real you. You're always going to be hiding who you are, and nobody should have to do that. No one. And when you end up hiding who you are, a lot of things happen. When you don't really live up to who you are, and you're not honest, and you're not really being truly who you want to be, it affects not just you, but a lot of people around you. I can think of so many situations in which if people were just who they truly were and wanted to be, they wouldn't have gotten in relationships that they aren't happy with. They wouldn't have taken jobs that they're not happy with. They would be in a much better place, in a much better space, but they're just too afraid to let go and be who they really are, because there's this constant voice in their head that tells them, you better not do that. Your mom wouldn't like that, or your neighbor would talk about you if you do this. And it's your own voice. It's your ego. It's your ego keeping you stuck and keeping you small. And you might have had people in your life who tried to tell you what to do when you were younger, but when you're an adult, you are 100% responsible for yourself. No one else is responsible for you. So letting other people tell you what you have to be or what you have to do, that's your fault. You may have had someone who did that to you when you were younger, but when you become an adult, it's your responsibility to fix that. So if you continue letting other people control you and control your life, that is your fault, and it's your responsibility, because you need to take charge and control of yourself, and you need to be 100% okay with who you are, and understand that people aren't going to like you. There will be people who do not like you. I know there are people who do not like me. I don't care. And I don't say that flippantly and as if, if I make you mad, so what? That's not how I mean it. What I mean is, I am going to be who I am, and if you don't like it, move on. You don't have to deal with me. But I know that there are a lot of people who do like me and like my message, and that's great. But I have to learn to live my life for me and not for anyone else. So if I'm walking around wondering if I should say or do something because it might make someone upset, then I'm not really living my life to its fullest, because we shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't have to censor yourself or be somebody different because you're afraid that you might make people mad. we're going to have people who don't like us. And if you're a people pleaser, that can be very painful because you want everyone to like you. What do you mean somebody doesn't like me? That's not possible. I'm likable. Everyone has to like me. No, they don't, and not everyone will, and that's perfectly fine. If you notice, those who don't like you are usually people that you really don't want to be around anyway. And when you start changing yourself and shifting yourself and you start being who you really are and being authentic and standing up for yourself and saying no and setting healthy boundaries with people, there are people who are not going to like that and they're going to fall away, and that's good for you because usually those people are the people who tried to control you anyway, and you don't want those kinds of people in your life. No one should ever control anyone else. When you're in a relationship, it should be equal, 50-50 give and take. There is not one person who's controlling the situation or controlling anyone else. You have to be two separate entities who happen to coexist. It's not, this is our relationship and I'm in charge of it. That's not how it works. And if you're a people-pleasing person, it can be very easy for you to get into a relationship that's very codependent, where one person seems to sort of take over and you're the people pleaser, so you let them and you just do what they want to do because you want to make them happy and you don't want them to leave. And what you're doing is causing a really, really unhealthy and toxic situation. It's not healthy for you to not be able to speak your truth, to speak your voice, be who you are. And I feel like a lot of people out there really, really need to work on opening up their throat chakras because they're not speaking their truth. They're not standing their ground. They're not setting healthy boundaries. They're not telling people no. They are not being their own best advocate. And as I'm sitting here talking to you, my throat is starting to get a little I can feel it kind of tightening, and that to me is my indication that there are people out there whose throat chakras are completely closed off and blocked because you're not speaking your truth. You have to be true to who you are and be authentic to you, and not everybody's going to understand. Not everybody understands my mission or my purpose. When I started doing Reiki, I would have people who would stop me and almost try to make me feel stupid, I think, for doing what I do. Because they would say, well, what is Reiki? Well, how does that even work? Well, is that even scientifically proven? Well, how do you know? And now I'm prepared. When people come up to me, I already know exactly what I'm going to say, and I've already, taken points of research in that and put it in there only because I want to set them straight about what it is, and I don't want them going around saying that Reiki isn't a legitimate healing practice, and I want them to know the truth. I don't care for myself because it actually just makes them look silly or dumb for questioning what I do because they don't even have any clue. So why would you say, what is it that you're doing? But some people aren't going to understand, and that's okay. I don't need them to understand what I do or why I'm doing it. I just want them to have the facts of this is what it is, since you're questioning, since you're asking. And I even have family members who don't agree with when I say, I pray to angels. They think that that's wrong because you should only pray to God, which I don't believe. And there's so many questionable things there because they say, well, you should only pray to God. Okay, then why does a minister pray for you? If you can pray straight to God, why do you have to have a minister intervene? Okay, that's always a question too that I had. Why do they have to be the one to pray? I can pray straight to God, right? I am completely connected with Source, with God. I am one with God. I don't need anybody to interpret, translate, get in between. So in the same way, I think this person thought that I was putting the angels above God or something. I don't know. I don't even really understand the whole problem that this person had, but it was basically boiling down to a misunderstanding of views. And I wasn't going to make this person change their mind. I knew that from the get-go, and that was not ever my intention. It's like, okay, you have your beliefs, I have mine, and it's fine. We don't have to agree. And you don't have to agree with people, and people don't have to understand what you're doing. Some people will not understand why you feel like you have to meditate, and some people will not understand why you're doing those mantras every day, and some people will not understand why you might go back and take classes to do something different. They just may not. And they don't have to. And you don't need anyone else's approval. You don't have to have them supporting you. You have all the support you need with your spiritual team. And you have everything you need to be successful. So don't let others get in your way, stop you, try to make you afraid. Because people will do that. They think that they are helping you. They think that they are giving you the best advice. But as I always say, they don't have to live with the consequences of your decision. You do. So don't let anyone else decide what you should or shouldn't do with your life. And if people don't understand what you're going through and that you're going through a spiritual awakening or a transformation, it's okay. They don't have to understand that. Don't try to convince them because you're just wasting your energy. They're not going to see things from your perspective because they're not at the level you are. They're only going to see it from their own perspective, which is at a much lower vibration and a much lower point than you are. You're higher up, you're farther along on your journey, and they're not going to understand what you're going through because they haven't been there yet. And some of them may never be there. Some people never awaken in this particular lifetime, and that's okay too. We're all on our own journeys, but if you're trying to convince them that, they need to see things from your point of view, you're going to be wasting your breath. So don't let others affect who you are, what you do, how you behave. You need to rely on yourself. Because if you're listening to your intuition, you know exactly what you need to do, and you don't need anyone else's approval. And you know what feels right to you and what doesn't feel right to you. As I said, it feels like the truth just hits you and you can feel it in your soul. And the non-truth, it does not feel good. And you know in your soul that it's not the truth as well. You know what's true for you and what's not true for you. So you take what resonates with you and leave what doesn't. And what works for you works for you. We're all different. You have to live with your life and with your choices and with your actions. And you know what's best for you. No one else knows that. All right, so be who you are. Be authentic. Don't be afraid to be someone just be fearless. That's what I really want to say. Just be fearless in the pursuit of that which sets your soul on fire. Be fearless. Don't let anyone get in the way, not even yourself. Don't let your ego get in the way. Don't let other people get in your way. Don't let obstacles get in your way. Just be fearless. You're a badass. Go and do what it is that you need to do for your own life. And don't take anything from anyone. Just don't. And when you see other people out there saying nasty things to people, you know what I like to do? I like to just send a little positive energy their way. I definitely send positive energy to the people who are getting slammed by these people, but I also send them positive energy because they need it. They really need it. If they're in such a place in their life that they feel like it's okay to just bash on someone else because they're different, they need love and positivity because that's why we're here. That's why most of us have come here in this lifetime. Our purpose is to teach love. It's to heal. And we have to heal these people because they have to have such deep inner childhood wounds or such deep wounds within them that they would feel that it's okay and necessary to attack others. All of this hate and darkness that we're seeing now, we're here to fix that. We're here to change that. We're here to spread the light. We're here to be the light for others. And those people who are so hateful and are just spewing hate on social media all the time, those people need healing. They need healing in the worst way. And they don't even know they need the healing. That's the thing. They're not awake, so they don't understand or realize that they need healing. So I send them positive thoughts. I send them healing because they need it for sure. They need it for sure. All right, guys. Well, I just encourage you to be the best possible version of you. And don't be afraid of being who you are, because you're beautiful, fiercely, wonderfully, divinely made. You are creatures of the divine, and you are connected to Source directly, so full of love and positivity, because you are Source energy. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. I wanted to pull a card for you before I ended this podcast today. And the deck that I chose is the Heart Thoughts deck by Louise Hay. It says, I am pure spirit. I recognize the true beauty of my being. I am the spirit of love shining brightly. I love that. You are a beauty of your being. You are the spirit of love shining brightly. Never dim your light for anyone else. Remember, there are millions of stars in the sky, more than that even. How dark would our world be if we only had one star? Everyone can shine, and there's room for everyone to shine, because we need your light. We need your light to light up the sky, to light up the paths for others. So don't be afraid to be who you are. Don't dim your light. Shine your light fully for all to see, where you have beautiful and wonderful gifts that need to be shared. God loves you so much. I love you guys. I hope that you guys will have an awesome day. If you are struggling with anything, whether emotionally or physically, you're feeling stressed out, depressed, if there's an issue that you're really struggling with and you just don't know where to go or where to turn, consider scheduling a session with me, either Reiki, coaching, or a reading. If you're not sure what you need, but you know you need something, you can contact me. You can call me, and we can talk on the phone, and I can kind of get a grasp of what your situation is and what you would best be served with, either through Reiki or reading or coaching, whatever. We can talk about that, and we can look at what your best option is. Don't stay stuck today. Don't stay depressed. Don't stay broken. Don't stay in a situation that isn't serving you. Get the help you need today, because everyone deserves to live their best life. And if you're feeling sad, you're anxious, you're depressed, you're emotionally exhausted and drained, then you are not living your best life. And I want everyone to live their absolute best life, because you are beautiful. You deserve to be the happiest version of you possible. So you need to do whatever you need to do to make that possible. And if you just need a guided meditation, something to relax every day, I have some wonderful meditations on my website you can purchase. You can visit me on my Facebook Lives. I will be going live on Thursday this week at 7 Central, where I will be doing some readings. And if you show up at my live, I pick people to pull cards for. And if you watch the live on the replay, if you're not able to make it there live during the broadcast, you can watch it again and then leave me a message letting me know you watched it and you were there for my live. And then I will pick also people from that replay to pull a message for. So it's something for everyone. I hope that you guys have a great week. Be you. You're beautiful and you deserve to shine. I love you guys. I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.